Ms. Mayor Pro Tempore, it's time.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance and standing for invocation. Now we'll have the invocation by Pastor Luis Aguilar from Iglesia Bautista Amistad.
Buenas tardes. Una bendición estar aquí. Dice un proverbio que mientras prospera la justicia, prospera también la ciudad. Oramos. Gracias, Señor, por este buen tiempo. Gracias por esta oportunidad, Señor, de poder estar en este lugar, Señor, y poder invocar tu nombre. Agradecer por nuestra ciudad, por cada uno de nuestros líderes, las personas que tú has puesto al gobierno, Señor, y que sirven a este lugar y nos ayudan a un buen vivir, Señor. Padre, igual pedimos y ponemos en tus manos a cada persona, Señor, de esta comunidad, que tú nos guíes, Señor, que vivamos bajo tu voluntad, bajo tu obediencia y bajo tu justicia, Señor. Llénanos de ti, guarda nuestra ciudad, nuestro estado y nuestra nación. Te lo pedimos en el nombre de Cristo Jesús. Amén. Thank you.
Item 4, roll call.
Mayor Jose Grijalva, Mayor Pro Tempore Dania Acosta,
Present.
Councilmember Melissa Rodriguez, Councilmember Jose Montaño,
Here.
Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Here.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Richard Acosta,
Present.
City Manager Ana Urquijo,
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Alejandro Martinez,
Here.
and Ms. Mayor Pro Tempore, Councilmember Melissa Rodriguez and Mayor Jose Grijalva are excused.
Thank you. Item number 5, events update.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our daily upcoming events update. First and foremost, don't miss Energize Douglas happening on May 15th, 2025 from 6 to 9 p.m. Vendors are wanted, so come be a part of this exciting evening. Then join us for our 10th annual Douglas Days on May 16th and 17th, where we'll be honoring all our veterans. We thank you for your service. Be sure to sign up for summer camp and visit the City of Douglas Facebook page for more updates. Also, keep tabs on our Rec on the Go mobile program. We're bringing fun directly to you with prizes being given out. So don't forget to check out May's calendar. Looking ahead, we're excited to present Luis Coronel live in concert on June 14th, along with Michael Pelayo at Ballad Entertainment. Scan the QR code to purchase your tickets. And for our middle schoolers, don't miss our silent DJ party on May 30th. Come dance, have fun, and enjoy free pizza. Details are on our Facebook page. Lastly, join us for National Learn to Swim Day on May 17 at the Aquatic Center from 9 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. And don't forget to sign up for swimming lessons. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you at these awesome events.
Hi, we hope you join us at the library this May for relaxing activities on Monday from 2 to 5, movies on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. for kids with free popcorn and juice. Wednesdays, we have activities like art, experiments, making snacks, learning about how to save money, and more, and that is at 3 p.m. On Thursdays, we have story time at 11 a.m. with songs, stories, and playtime afterwards. This Friday, we have our paint night for adults, and you can call or stop by to register. Everything is free, all materials included. Next Friday, the 23rd, we can start registering kids and adults for our summer reading program. And that'll start the 2nd of June. So it's coming up super soon. And we are so excited. The theme for this year is Color Your World. And we will have so many opportunities to color your summer. We will have painting. We will have experiments. We will have tie-dye. We will have a foam party. We are going to kick off our summer with an event at 10th Street Park with a juggler, games, snacks, and lots of cool things to do this summer for all ages, including adults. So we hope you join us. We hope you color your summer here at the Douglas Public Library, and we are very excited to see you here. Bye.
Thank you. I hope everybody gets an opportunity to attend at least one of those events. Moving on to item number 6, mayor and council member updates and or reports. The only thing I'd like to add is, and this is probably my fault for not providing it, but there is a metal festival that's coming up June 7th, so it'll be before our next council meeting in June. And that will be June 7th from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're calling it the Tattoos and Taco Metal Festival. So very first time that we've done anything like this in the community. And so far we've received good feedback. So I hope people can make it to that. And as far as for Energize Douglas, tomorrow, we're honoring our seniors, our graduating seniors. So any graduating seniors that would like to show up tomorrow between 6 and 9 p.m. in front of, at the 1000 block of G Avenue, which is in front of the Gadsden, they can receive a voucher for something to eat from one of our vendors. So, moving on to item number 7, reading of proclamations. First one will be for the Frontline Workers Association. Appreciation. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And you. Okay. Whereas frontline workers are the builders of our community, exercising curiosity, compassion, courage, and creativity to provide essential services that ensure the safety, health, and education of our residents. And whereas over 9 million healthcare workers across the United States serve in hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities, often placing themselves at risk to provide life-saving care. And whereas firefighters respond to an estimated 36 million emergency calls each year, over 800,000 sworn law enforcement officers nationwide work tirelessly to uphold the law and ensure public safety, and emergency medical services personnel respond to more than 240 million calls annually. And whereas teachers dedicate their careers to shaping the future of our communities, with over 3.7 million educators in the U.S. providing knowledge and guidance to our youth. And whereas frontline workers embody the essence of builders, flexible thinkers, and constructive problem solvers who respect the dignity of all people by dedicating themselves to overcoming challenges and uniting communities. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jose Grijalva, Mayor, and on behalf of City of Douglas Council, hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Frontline Worker Appreciation Month. The second proclamation is Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services fills healthcare gaps by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishment of emergency medical services providers by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be resolved that Jose Grijalva, Mayor, and on behalf of the City of Douglas Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th through 24th, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you so much to all of these professions that work to provide a better community for all of us, and with sacrifices to their own lives and to their families. So we appreciate all of them. Thank you so much. Item number 8, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda.
We do not.
Moving on, item number 9, discussion decision on approval of consent agenda items. Item A, expenditures for the month of April 2025 totaling $2,854,705.99. Item B, meeting minutes for April 9th and 17th, 2025. Item C, bid award for drilling of a new production water well number 18. Item D, employee health insurance contracts. Item E, resolution number 25-1664, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of real estate acquisition services contract to Tierra Right of Way Services LTD for right-of-way acquisition south of Huzzy Ranch Road and part of Kings Highway for the West Douglas Utility Expansion Project located in Cochise County, Arizona. Item F, resolution number 25-1665, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing an agreement with the city of Scottsdale for the transfer of surplus equipment, a 2016 BMW police motorcycle. And item G, resolution number 25-1666, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Douglas and Cochise County regarding efforts to acquire right-of-way for Kings Highway to James Ranch Road for projects related to the commercial land port of entry west of Douglas, Arizona. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Yes.
Mr. Montaño?
I move that the mayor and council approve the consent agenda items A through G.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Montaño. Second by Mr. Shelton. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rodriguez, Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 10, presentation, discussion, decision on approvals. Item A, city flag designation, Ms. De La Torre, please.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. So as we discussed on the April 9th meeting, we wanted to integrate the background of the flag that I had designed into the crest of the flag. So there are the two that were approved that we decided to incorporate together. So I came up with a few different options for you guys, just so you can see. This is concept 1A. Not sure if you guys can see too much, but I did put the landscape below with the train still there, as well as the landmarks inside that smaller circle. So with this, we also have our 1B, 1C, and then we also have 2A. Not sure what you guys think. Any thoughts?
Thank you, Ms. De La Torre. May I have a motion to the flag design?
I would like to make a motion to approve the final flag design for the city of Douglas.
There's
Mayor,
We would
May
have
I?
to pick-
Mayor Pro Tem, yes, council members, there's a few concepts to select one
Yeah.
over the others. If you can go back, Ms. De La Torre, we have concept 1A, which is on a white background, concept 1B, colored banner on the bottom of the flag, C, diagonal banners on the corners, and then 2A, which is a little different in concept, just in case there was interest. So we do need a selection recommended.
I recommend that we do the second one.
This one?
Yes,
We don't have-
1B.
can't use that as the discussion. And
Or we can discuss it.
You
I thought we
can-
were going to do that.
You can.
Then discuss which one
Okay,
by that. motion.
yes.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do, we have the motion by Councilmember Shelton. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bonavenero. So now up for discussion, the different concepts that were presented.
Thank you.
Well, I like, I guess 1B and then the next one, what, yeah, 1C, either one of those. I think the ones with the Gadsden and everything, that's going to shrink it and make it look, I don't know, what is everybody else's feeling?
Would you go back just to the previous two?
Yeah,
The first one?
Yeah. Yeah. I like 1B. My opinion. I
Yeah.
think this less busy. The last one looks a little too busy with the thing on the bottom. So I think 1B is my preferred selection.
Can you change it, won't be, please? It seemed like the three concepts basically had the same logo in the middle, right?
Yes, they do.
Nothing changed, just the blank
Mhm.
to the colors at the bottom, then 1C, you got the diagonals at the corner.
Mhm.
I mean, 1C, 1B and 1C are the top choices. It's just up to us to vote for which one, of those two. Mayor? So,
Yes.
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 Okay.
We didn't quite discuss how this would fit around.
Oh, right.
Go.
I mean,
Mr. Baldwin.
either way, thank you so much for the design. You did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
And you know, it kind of makes it easier for us to pick. But, and Mr. Shelton, I know Councilman Shelton picked 1B, correct?
yes. Or 1C, either one.
1C. My opinion, I would go with 1C.
I originally liked concept B, 1B. Because at least it draws you the attention to the city limits. Not too much arrows on the side. It's right there, and you can see it. That's fine.
I agree with all of you. 1B and 1C is pops a little bit more and, but I see your point in 1B being, I guess, the focal point in the portion. So I would say 1B, is there any position to that?
Just for clarity, I believe it's front and back, right?
Yes. If I may, I would like to let you guys know that I do like the 1C option a little bit more, just because it accentuates the center, having, the diagonal lines kind of bring the attention to not only just the center, but the entire flag. So that would be my vote.
That's you.
I can see that. So do we amend, how do we do this for the bones? Do we just?
If you, Mayor Pro Tempore, if you already, if you're going with 1B, then we have the motion by Mr. Shelton and second by Mr. Baldenegro. We can just incorporate that the motion is for item or concept 1B. Is that correct, Dennis?
I didn't hear you. Are they gonna revise the motion or are they still gonna vote on 1B? We have a motion and a second.
So the motion was just to approve the final design, but now they are including 1B as the concept. So I believe we can amend or just including that the motion, if Councilmember Shelton and Councilmember Baldenegro are okay with it, of including with their motion, the concept design 1B.
You know, now I'm sorry, I'm changing my mind. I see now, Ms. De La Torre's explanation on how 1C, does kind of direct the eye to the center. So I'm actually going for 1C.
Mayor, can I say something?
Sure.
If you look at this concept 1C, I totally agree with Mr. Baldenegro that when you look at this one, you focus on the center, but you don't even see the city of Douglas, Arizona. Once you look at it at first, if it makes you focus on the middle, not the actual city of Douglas. Go to the next one or the previous one. This one, that's the first thing you see, the city of Douglas. It just makes you focus on the whole thing, not just, for some reason, I don't know, it's because of the colors on both sides, but it makes you focus almost on the middle and not the whole thing.
Exactly.
Watch, go back.
Well,
It's almost like magic.
Do we have any comments from public on this item?
We,
Mayor Pro Tem, not at this stage. Early on, we had outreach during the initial stage.
Is it okay to open it up, although we don't have formal requests? Is there anybody in the public that would like to? If you could just. So, I'm sorry, yeah, if you could just come up and say your name.
Angela Domich, out of those two, 1B would be my choice.
Any other
Anybody else?
members? Come on up. And if we could just get your names afterwards so that our clerk can document that, please.
I like 1C, and it's because generally in a commercial branding type of scenario, you want to take your picture and the outline needs to funnel to the middle, which is exactly what 1C does. So now when I looked at it, I saw City of Arizona, or of Casa Grande, Arizona. Casa Grande, I'm sorry. Douglas, Arizona. And in the whole scenario, it brought your eye right to the middle. So I just think it's a better way to go. Thanks, John.
Anybody else, please, because right now we're at a tie.
We're at a tie.
Here we go.
I know.
I'm back to 1B. It, like you were saying, it focuses to the sides instead of to the center where that's where you want to look at City of Douglas. The other one is it distracts too much. This is perfectly, it goes in incline with the flag and the Arizona emblem. So I go with 1B.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, here we go.
So I agree with one B too.
Thank you. Okay, so, concept, of 1B, roll call, please.
Ms. Mayor Pro Tempore, so let's,
I'm-
Dennis, Mr. Shelton, if you can amend your motion to include.
Well, that's the one I really meant. I make a motion, we do 1B.
Let's have Councilmember Baldenegro accept that amendment.
That's, the number two, yeah,
Okay,
Thank
All right.
you,
one B.
thank you.
thank you.
Is
So,
that the one you like?
Well, yes, but if I had my way, I would put the copper all the way across the middle and the blue on top side. It'll be halfway. Oh,
You have-
you know, almost like our big bus, our everything.
Well,
for beautiful sunsets.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
One B.
1B.
So, okay, so motion by Mr. Shelton, for the final city design, concept 1B, second by Mr. Badenegro. Roll call?
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes,
Councilmember Valdenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you so much, everybody, for your input.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
De
you
La
so
Torre.
much.
Very
I want
good.
to say thank you so much.
and
It-
thank you for all the work.
Of course, it has been an absolute pleasure and I hope to do more for the city in the art aspect. So I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very lucky to have you. Item 10B, will be postponed for a future council meeting. So we'll move on to item 10C, Navi retail recruitment tools. Ms. Smith?
Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of councils, the public and staff. Tonight's presentation is by Navi Retail regarding Phase 1 through Phase 7 deliverables as outlined in the scope of work. The presentation will showcase the tools and insights provided thus far to support retail recruitment efforts and economic development. By way of background, in 2024, the city of Douglas hired Navi Retail, a retail consulting firm that specializes in helping communities attract and retain retail businesses through data-driven strategies. Navi Retail provides detailed market analysis, customized recruitment tools, and expert guidance. Their proprietary platform, Navi Sites, offers key insights, including demographic data and retail match reports, which aid and focus retail attraction efforts. As you recall, in February of this year, Navi Retail visited Douglas and met with city staff and key stakeholders to present a comprehensive analysis of the local retail landscape. The presentation identified critical opportunities for economic development through strategic retail recruitment. A recording was provided. A recording of Navi Retail's initial presentation was shared with the mayor and council in advance of tonight's meeting to help with background. And again, we have our Navi Retail CEO on the line who will kind of showcase some of the tools that he's been able to come up with and answer any questions. And I can tell you, working with Casey, he's a world-class economic development professional. The platform that we've selected has been able to get the Mexico data that we've so desperately needed. Other platforms only worked from border north, and he includes basically what we need here in Douglas, a Mexican demographic as well. So without further ado, Casey, you online, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, thanks, Jen, and thank you so much for those kind words. Thank you all for having me tonight. Can everybody see my screen? Is the PowerPoint showing?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. As Jen said, we've kind of gone through several different stages of our process, and I'll try to keep it brief tonight, but I kind of wanted to give an overview of kind of the first step of our process, and that is gathering a lot of data, doing a lot of research, and as Jen mentioned, in February, doing some on-the-ground research as well. To give you a little bit of insight about myself, I grew up in a small town in Mississippi. I've been doing this now for about 13 years, going on 14. And we've worked in, I think, 30 states and a little over 400 communities all across the US. And so I guess to sum all of that up, we've seen a lot of things. We've seen a lot of successful developments, a lot of failed developments. And so that kind of helps to guide us in our travels and our experience working with municipalities, because we can glean from things that we've seen in the field and use them hopefully for our clients. One of the first things we start off with when we first go into a community and working with them, whether we're working with the city or a developer, is we want to know the current consumer base. And so when we arrive, when we show up in town, who's coming here today? Who is present in the market today spending dollars? And so a lot of people ask, well, how would you get that sort of information? We heavily rely on cell phones for this. And so that is something that has come about, I'd say, in the last 8 to 10 years. It's really allowed us to access information and data points that we wouldn't have had ordinarily, or at least when I first started in this industry. Especially helpful, I think, working on the border, because I will say we've got some great Mexican data, but it's not always as robust as what we would have on the US side. However, the cell phone data is pretty much 100% the same type of data that we would be seeing in the US, which is really cool. It really allows us to see traffic patterns, cross traffic, shopping patterns, that sort of thing. So this is kind of just an overview of the market in total. As you can see how far out we're going here, but this is the raw cell phone data that we're collecting. And again, we surveyed pretty much every retail business in town. But this is just kind of a sampling of that, and before we filter it down and do other things with it. But each one of these little blue dots represents where a consumer in the market lives. And so they've gone to Douglas, they've been inside the city limits, they've spent dollars at a retail establishment, and then they've gone back home to where these blue dots show up on your map. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of blue dots there. We don't necessarily want to say all of these blue dots are, our core customer, maybe some of them. And that's how we drill down and we filter down to what we call trade areas. These are divided into 3. And the first one we call the primary retail trade area. So this is the most common consumer, the most frequent consumer in a market. I would say the reason for dividing these, we tend to see shopping patterns being more frequent with things like groceries and necessities that you need in the home, versus you're not going to necessarily go 2 or 3 times a week and buy clothes. And for me, it's once every 6 months. And so that's, it's a less frequent consumer for those types of products, versus with this primary retail trade area, we expect these people are buying their groceries in the city limits of Douglas if they're originating from the areas in the red, as you see it here. Like I said, most frequent, multiple times per week. And we give this what we call a buyer propensity. And so what that means is how likely someone is to make a purchase based on where they originated from that red area. And so these have the highest buyer propensity, as you'll see from all the trade areas that we've compiled. Nearly 100% of the time, if they're in that red area, they're going to be making a purchase at least weekly or semi-weekly. As you would imagine, we move on to a little bit further out boundary, the secondary retail trade area, and you see the primary cut out of this. But this extends out a little bit further. These are not coming as often, but still pretty frequent. Frequent enough to consider them a semi-core consumer at some level, but not necessarily, buying groceries every single week or twice a week. Like I said, slightly less frequently. We'd say closer to biweekly. They still may be making a lot of their purchases in the city limits of Douglas, but they may not be going as often. And since we kind of use frequency as our metric, that would make these more of the secondary retail trade area consumers. Like I said earlier, this kind of drops off as you go further out. So their buyer propensity gets down into the 30s or the low 30s, as you'll see here, meaning not quite as likely to make a purchase if they're originating from these areas, and certainly not as frequently. And then we go out to the tertiary retail trade area, and that goes out pretty far. Like I said, with a lot of blue dots on the map, those have to go and make purchases somewhere. It's really not saying that they can't go and make purchases in Douglas, or that they don't. It's just they're not doing so as frequently as those that live a lot closer to town. More rarely than not, again, we say these are kind of the cherry on top consumers, if you will. You couldn't really build a business off this consumer base, but if you can build a business off your primary and somewhat of your secondary retail trade area, this is really like just sheer profit at that point. So retail site selectors would make a decision on mainly the primary and perhaps the secondary, but not really the tertiary market. This is just kind of, it makes it a slam dunk if you get everybody from the tertiary retail trade area. So we give them a lot lower buyer propensity. And again, this is not an exact science when it comes to defining, how frequently a consumer could go to a market. Obviously, as we hope to attract new retailers and new businesses, some of these numbers will change, the market will grow, and you'll see these consumers coming in more frequently. But for now, it's kind of a historical analysis. This is what's happened in the past, what we've observed, and what we'll use in our marketing efforts for the city. So going to kind of the demographics of the city, we see the city is a little over 16,000 people, but we choose not to use that number in our marketing. We prefer to take this trade area and market it because we can verify, we've quantified and verified that these consumers are coming to the market in the basis that I explained earlier. And so when you see them all together, you kind of see the reach, and you see how as you go out a little bit further, it gets a little bit cooler. Obviously, the hot orange center there is where most of the customers are coming from, and certainly the most frequently, to the market. So when we total up all the frequent consumers, meaning those that are coming at least once a week, and this is including those in Mexico, we're at nearly 70,000 people. So nearly 70,000 people once a week are coming into the city and making a purchase. We verified that, and that is the number that we choose to use in our marketing, explaining to others about this market that may not be as familiar. Like I said, at least weekly, and these customers represent a buying power of nearly $1.1 billion. That means when we take their incomes, the incomes of these people, these 70,000 people, they have $1.1 billion to spend. Now, that gets divided up amongst your mortgage, your car payment, taxes, obviously retail goods and services. But just in total, I wanted you to see that is quite a bit of money when you look at the collective total of those 70,000 people. So from there, we filter down a little bit more and we do what's called a gap analysis. So from there, we find that these 70,000 some odd consumers have demanded, meaning they have spent a little over $500 million. We've verified that. We know that they spend for retail goods and services, and we define this by NAICS codes, and I won't go into all that explanation of what those are, but effectively it's how we define what a business is in terms of retail. We kind of use it in a broad sense, and so retail can include restaurants, it can include entertainment venues, storefronts is, I guess, probably the best way to say it. But when you total up the money spent, it's a little over $500 million as of 2024. When we look at what Douglas actually supplied them, meaning they spent $500 million, but they only spent $230 million in the city limits of Douglas. And as you can see, that's quite a deficit in between $500 million and $200 million. And so what that leaves is roughly a $300 million, not leakage, as you'll probably have heard in the past or will hear from others. We call this the opportunity. So what this $300 million represents is really the opportunity that is presented to a potential business. No matter what they're doing, at some level, there's an opportunity, meaning someone's going somewhere outside the city limits and spending a total of $300 million amongst those 70,000 people. Just breaking it down a little bit into 3 or 4 sectors here. Auto dealers, roughly $65 million, a huge chunk of change. Restaurants, another huge chunk of change, $50 million. I would say on average, your typical, sit-down restaurant can do anywhere between $3 and $5 million. Again, taking into consideration some restaurants do more and some less, but just on average, that's still a lot of restaurants, even at $5 million that we could potentially bring into town. Grocery, see that still leaving $15 million on the table. After my trip to Douglas, I realized that there's still not a lot of places to buy groceries, still not a lot of places to eat in the grand scheme of things. And so that's where we viewed these dollar amounts as opportunity. And ultimately that will be how we sell the city to these potential businesses. We take, we extrapolate some of these facts about the consumers using credit card data. and we learned a lot about their lifestyle. We found that 73% dine in sit-down family-style restaurant in the past 6 months. And so that's obviously something that they like. This is what's called psychographics. And so what psychographics is kind of the study of consumer behavior. What we're doing is we're taking all of that good demographic information and all that cell phone information and then pairing that with the credit card data. And so when we see that, we not only see who's doing what, where they're doing it, but also we start to see a trend of their lifestyle. What do they like to do? What do they not like to do? That sort of thing. This is divided up into a segmentation system, of which there's 67 total segments. We found that the average household size is slightly higher than the national average at nearly 3.25. It's very family driven. And again, these are straight from some of our reports, but just to point out a couple of them, when we see this, we know that when we bring in a business or a type of entertainment destination, it should be family friendly because that's really important to the consumer here. Nearly 70% of all households have 2 vehicles. I've done a lot of work as a consultant for AutoZone, and this is something that they look at. Obviously, and this is common sense, but it's hard to have an auto parts store if people don't have 2 and 3 vehicles, or if they don't work on their own car. I can promise you in Brookline, Massachusetts, you're not going to find an AutoZone anywhere nearby because people there don't work on their car. When I was driving around Douglas, I saw plenty of project cars, and I think Jen will have to remind me, but the subdivision we drove through, there was an old Mustang I pointed out there, and these are things that these businesses look at. So obviously something we wanted to study and really learn about before we go and ultimately market this data. The consumers are very budget conscious. I know we're in an environment right now where it's like, well, who isn't? But on average, that's something that this community really appreciates more than the national average. There's indices for all of these sorts of things, and so we see that this is a trend even when the economy is good. And what that tells me is that the discount retailers will do very well. The Burlington Coat Factories of the world, the Ross, the TJ Maxx's of the world, they really love the budget conscious consumer. Those that clip coupons, that is 100% their clientele, and that's something that they want to see in a market. And again, it sounds like common sense here, but at the end of the day, how is this product going to improve and organize the consumer's lives? We find that this is part of how a go-to-market strategy would work if you were one of these prospective businesses. You've got to do more than just have the product and have it at the best price. You've also got to convince the consumer, hey, this is really going to make life easier on you. So again, these are just a sampling of some of the things that we collected. Like I said earlier, discount department stores, dollar stores, pharmacies. I mean, all of those are really, I think critical targets for us as we go to the trade shows that we do and market this. Like I said earlier, very budget driven, very budget conscious, something that would really be helpful in the marketing aspect once these retailers are located. So on the subject of marketing, how we go to market and how we ultimately market our clients. We produce a lot of marketing collateral, and as Jen pointed out earlier, we also have produced our own software and technology that we run on iPads. And typically what we're doing is when we're at these trade shows, and I could name 3 or 4 different organizations, but the one that's upon us is with ICSC. We go to about 20 of their trade shows a year, 15 to 20, give or take, on the year. And ultimately what we're doing is explaining these specific opportunities and how they present to those that are not as familiar with the market, explaining aspects about sites, available sites, all of that market data that I showed you, and really what the opportunity is for them in the Douglas retail market. And so that's where all that data really comes in handy. But I'll say as well, the tour that Jen and Anna gave me when I was in town in February, that's also just completely invaluable. That is so helpful for me to be able to see the market, be able to explain the market. And again, our data is great. And I think that really helps to solidify that there is a justified opportunity. but being able to see the market, immerse yourself in the market, that's really helpful as well, especially when they start asking specific questions about properties. You know, and some of the ones I've physically got to even go inside. And so then, you know, when I'm talking about some of these properties, I can really sound like I know the market, instead of just showing them a picture of it and saying, hey, this is what the city sent me or what I got off CoStar. So it really goes a long way with them. So anyway, I kind of sped through all that just to give an overview, but I wanted to leave enough time for questions as there usually are some. So I'll open it up. Any questions about the data, what we do, what we'll be doing at the trade shows, that sort of thing?
Thank you, Casey. Any questions from council?
I think this is great that they're using the data, because that's been a huge issue trying to recruit any type of business with the population of Douglas. Now that you guys are including, for you, Mr. Kidd, including the population of Agua Prieta, that's huge. So thank you.
I was really, just to further that point, I was really shocked when I physically saw it. And again, I keep going back to my visit in February, but it's one thing for me to be sitting at a desk and looking at a report and seeing all these numbers, but then to physically see literally people out shopping in the parking lot at Walmart at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I mean, it really helps me to number one, just verify this data and the truth of it, but also to really get excited about when I'm talking about the market that, hey, with my own two eyes, I've seen these people shopping, and this is really a hot market. So I think, you know, that paired with the data is definitely a different strategy and something that's really going to give the city an edge when we're at these trade shows.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. Thank you, Casey. And I would just like to add that we, with this new data, are very excited. We'll be accompanying Mr. Kidd at a trade show coming up next week. Mayor Grijalva, Mayor Pro Tem Acosta, Jen, and myself will be showcasing Douglas from this new lens and trying to attract new retail. And there will be some strategies that we come back with, and we will invite Mr. Kidd back to council to strategize on some investment opportunities perhaps as well. So thank you again.
Thank you all.
Mayor, just a comment real quick. Or Mr. Kidd, I'm an educator, firm believer in the data that you provided. And it also helped out that you came to visit our town. I wish some of these retailers would come and see our town and see our potential. I mean, you saw it firsthand, especially at the port of entry with all the consumers crossing the border to come here and shop. So we're looking forward for the final 4 phases of your data, and we're excited here. So thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta. I just want to also add, so last year was our first year going to ICSC, and that is where we met Mr. Kidd and his company. And obviously, we knew that our numbers were small, but how could we present this information on the consumer that comes from Mexico? And I'm a firm believer in, higher power, and somehow we ended up at Mr. Kidd's table. He presented, what his company does and could do for us. And a year later, here we are going back to the convention and with a lot better information and demographics. So we're very excited and hopeful that this will move us forward too. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kidd.
Thank you all.
Oh, Mr. Shelton.
Yes, now, once we get this started, do businesses then come online and say, hey, is Douglas going to be okay? And then are you going to be our person that's going to help us along the way?
To answer both questions, yes. Certainly that is the The ambition, I think, both for my company as well as the city is that obviously we want to put this in front of as many people as possible. I think that the part to keep in mind is that what we have to ultimately overcome is that we have to convince them that they can make money in Douglas. And I'm convinced that they can, but we have to prove that and show that in some fashion. That's not one report, that's not one meeting, that's not one interaction. That's really kind of a timeline. And again, it goes from first talks to discovering the market, sometimes making a site visit, identifying real estate. And to your second question, that is where I think we really focus as a company, is to help you through that process. Obviously, I don't own property in the city of Douglas and I don't sit on the city council, but I can certainly serve an advisory role to say, hey, this person's interested. This is a property that we think would be really advantageous to them and for the city. And so that's where we kind of act as a sounding board to really drive these conversations. And again, I think we're having to kind of take a step back because this data has not really been presented before. I truly, to my knowledge, we're the only company in our industry, at least, that has data in Mexico, or at least knows how to compile that. And so having them never seen this before, we kind of have to go back and say, well, you've been looking at numbers you didn't have. Here's some new numbers. Take a look at this. I think as those conversations progress, we're really going to be able to drill down to how and where they can make money specifically in the city of Douglas. And that's certainly something we're going to be helping with.
Okay, and then also, we have the new port of entry coming, and they're going to be improving the port of entry coming into the main part of town. Are you going to include this information, that hopefully within 10 years, Douglas will grow 50% or 100%?
Yes, certainly. And that's something that we had a lot of discussions. I had discussions with Jen and Anna both when I first arrived in town. I was talking about the port of entry. And so I'm very familiar with that project. And certainly, I mean, I don't see how it couldn't bring others to town. I think the part that I would kind of tag with that is that you have to keep in mind that these retailers are unlike an industry. And again, I don't do industrial recruitment, but one thing I will say is with industries, they're not going to build 180 Ford plants or Toyota plants in the US. They're going to probably build one, if maybe at max two over the next 5 to 10 years, versus these retailers, sometimes they're building 100 to 200 locations in a year. And so while I understand the projects that are coming online in the city of Douglas, the retailers are not so much apt to looking 10 years down the road. It's not that we can't forecast and show that information to them. It's just the market has to kind of explain itself, as it sits today, and present an opportunity today. And that's where I think the cell phone data really helps, and really looking at the Mexico data, is that all of these numbers that I showed you are today. So we don't have to necessarily wait for that traffic to come 10 years from now. With the port of entry, you have this traffic today. We just had to quantify it and be able to show that to them. And I think that's what's so really cool about the data that we have, is that the port of entry, again, going back to the cherry on top analogy, that'll be the cherry on top. But I think for the retailers that are going to be locating today, they're going to be locating based on those numbers that I showed you earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Butcher, Mr. Casey, I remember the presentation when there was the gentleman out of San Antonio who had a business here at Family Dollar. Are you going to be able to bring contractors? Because that's one of the biggest concern here. We don't have nobody to build homes. We have a port of entry coming. So can you elaborate on that?
That was a conversation that we had back when I was in town, and that is a little bit more challenging. Again, I think that's something that's felt not just in Douglas, but there's definitely some concerns in the workforce right now. It's certainly something that will be part of our strategy, and something that I know that me, Jen, and Anna have talked about. Again, we recruit businesses and we work with businesses. And so you're finding some of these types of things are gonna, potentially be a little bit more challenging, but it's certainly, number one, it's a consideration and we recognize the need. But I think there's some ways that we're already kind of talking internally that might help some of these issues. Again, I don't want to be too explicit at the moment, but I do think that we're going to have that very much involved in our strategy, so that we are successful and we don't hit these roadblocks when we have an interested party.
I just wanted to add to that. Sorry about that.
Also, do you have anything in your kind of trade, so we're giving chain businesses like CVS and FS? I mean, I don't know what the reason would be, CVS leaving us.
So that's a very good question, and I actually I've just finished up a study about a month ago for a town and in a hospital system actually in North Carolina, and it revolved around pharmacy. And I can tell you, having looked at so much of that data, that is kind of a systemic problem within those corporations. Again, I say this in haste, but a lot of what I saw while I was in town is just kind of bad luck. I think, when you pair the economy and some of the things that have happened in the economy and some of the businesses that were in town, y'all kind of just drew the short straw on some of these. So I wouldn't take it so much as to, it's the market or something's going on in the market. Some of that I would chalk up to, there's a lot of changes being made at the corporate level and things that are obviously going to trickle down to communities like Douglas. I don't have an exact reason as to why CVS left, but I can tell you that's going to be a trend for quite a while. I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to be hard pressed to see freestanding pharmacies. I know it's a pretty bold statement to make, but at the same time, I've done a lot of research, and again, a lot on behalf of the hospital system that's trying to figure out what to do. As you can imagine, medication only works when you take it. So they've got to get the pills in the mouth in order for it to be effective. And that's where we're all trying to figure out what the next step for that is. It's not always a great look when businesses close, but I think when someone's looking at that, they're going to know, anyone in our industry is going to know, hey, this is not the only CVS or Walgreens, in America that's probably shuttering its doors today. And so just keep that in mind. That doesn't deter me. I still think the market's strong. I've visually seen it being strong, and that's going to be part of my my marketing at the trade shows.
Sure, I think
Oh,
Ms.
Jennifer,
Smith
okay, yeah.
had something to say.
Just to quickly add to the conversation, that meeting that was in, that you were part of in February, one of the great insights that we got from these property directors in all these areas that are not quite local was the concern of available contractors. So it's still a matter of connecting them to our local contractors, and the stuff that we've been working on for the Port of Entry is all kind of pieces to the puzzle. Communication has been something that has been great. We know who the property directors are for the 99 Store Plaza, Harbor Freights area, same where the Dollar Tree is. And all that was very helpful. And so it's now a matter of making sure when they have those needs, instead of doing a corporate level search for contractors, they can contact us at the local level and we can connect them to who we have local if they fit their needs. And then just adding to what Casey said is, CVS is a perfect example of Douglas's. We have the market, but we've always been a part of a situation at a corporate level. CVS is an example. Radio Shack, 99 Store. These are kind of national closures and not necessarily a performance on Douglas, but something that happens at a national level, and we maybe based on our location is part of the reasons that they close. So I thought that was very insightful and very important because it just made more of a stronger stance for Douglas is like, we do have a market and we can bring people in. And the Port of Entry, anytime we go to these retail conferences, they know of this project. They have their eye on it, and the tools that Casey's been able to provide are match lists, our demographic information. We go confidently and saying, this is exactly what we have. We know this is our retail trade area. These are our opportunity, retail opportunity. So I just wanted to add that because that's a very important part of what we've been doing in economic development.
Mr. Schultz.
I know a number of our citizens have come up to me some nicely, some not. Why is CVS leaving? Well, I investigated it. January of 2024, CVS made a recommendation. They were going to close 700 pharmacies. Well, in 24, they closed 500, in 25, 200. I thought, well, we'll just see if Walgreens is coming. I'm listening to television and Walgreens is cutting 1,200 this year and next year. And I think a lot of people now order their medicine online. That is probably one of the reasons for that. So, and you know, teaching economics for 20 years, you know, I study this. So it's just not Douglas, it's all over the country.
And one thing I'll add to that to note, and this is kind of a funny analogy, but you know, when other stores are closing, you know, first, you know, i.e. other markets are having stores closed and yours is still left, that to me speaks to the market. The last couple of Blockbuster videos that were, you know, they were all both in Alaska, they just closed a few years ago. And so you think about it, you know, at a corporate level, that's a chain that's been dying for many years, but at the same time, you still had a couple of stores left in Alaska. That's not to say that that's going to save the company, but when you're the last two stores or you're not the first ones on the chopping block, that to me speaks highly of the market. And that's something that I noticed just for some of the ones that were still open and in the city of Douglas. And so again, I wouldn't look too hard at some of these that have closed because I think, again, I have no reason to say this otherwise. I think that y'all kind of just had some bad luck with, you know, some of these corporate changes. I will promise you this though, you know, there's always going to be another user of some level. And again, it may not be a pharmacy or it may not be a video store, but there's always going to be another concept, another user of real estate that remits sales tax. And so that's where I'm motivated. I feel like, hey, you know, we can put someone in there. We can find someone to use that space and ultimately bring some tax revenue back to the city.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This information, like I said, we went to the convention last year without it. It's so exciting to actually see it quantified, you know, in the way that you did and just to make sure for my own. So I did the math. So between 70,000 people, that's just under $8,000 of, you know, expendable income, I guess, that is out there. And it seems 500 million seems like such a large amount when I saw it. That's why I did the math. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's about $8,000. So, you know, it's reason for our community to be excited. It's reason for us to be excited as council. And, you know, now that we can present this information to potential businesses, you know, I think that we are in a very good position. Thank you to Ms. Smith for the work. It's not easy. It sounds easy, but it really is not. And it just takes some time, so a lot of time and preparation. Anybody else? Item 10D.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank y'all.
Item 10D. Resolution number 25-1667, a resolution of mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, supporting economic revitalization and heritage preservation in rural Arizona communities through targeted investment, local empowerment, and sustainable development strategies. I will go ahead and be presenting this item again with, you know, the hard work of Ms. Smith, the Economic Development Office, and Ms. Urquijo. I found that I was trying to look for a way that I could try to help in you know, all of the good work that they're doing. And obviously our role as mayor and council is to look for ways to pass, local ordinances or resolutions. But, which is what I'm then going to present here shortly. But every year, the League of Cities and Towns of Arizona, or the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, they have a resolutions committee process every year. And so I started to think of what is it that we need in Douglas? And obviously our needs are great. So the following resolution is something designed to address the longstanding economic challenges that we face in Douglas, not only in Douglas, but in rural Arizona. For communities just like ours, I just really believe that the challenges that we have are probably, if not the same, very similar to other small communities or rural communities, I should say. So the Rural Economic Revitalization Resolution outlines key policy initiatives aimed at revitalizing our historic districts, attracting new industry, supporting small businesses, and retaining our youth. The resolution does three important things. And number one, it identifies specific economic development challenges, including youth outmigration, speculative property neglect, lack of broadband infrastructure, and barriers to revitalizing historic main streets. Number two, it proposes solutions tailored to rural communities, such as having a historic district revitalization grant program for rural communities, tax incentives for rural industries, state investment in broadband and workforce development, legal tools for addressing long-term vacancies and absentee property owners, and funding for youth workforce programs and sustainable agriculture innovation. Number three, it sets the foundation for broader statewide action. And hopefully, once we adopt this resolution, it will be broken down into actionable legislative proposals that we intend to present to the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. And with the League's support, we will advocate for inclusion in the League's statewide legislative agenda. The long-term goal for these proposals is to be formally introduced as bills in the Arizona State Legislature. And by passing this resolution locally, we take the first step in statewide strategy to bring meaningful place-based investment and tools to rural communities. So in short, this resolution recognizes the urgent needs of rural Arizona. It positions Douglas as a leader in rural policy innovation, which our staff has already done work on policy innovation that we have passed and voted on already. And it also paves the way for coordinated advocacy at the state level. So I respectfully ask for council support in adopting this resolution so that we can begin engaging other rural communities and municipalities and advocate for the economic future of our communities and others like it. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 25-1667? Mr. Butler.
I move that the Navy Council approve resolution number 25-1667.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Motion by Mr. Bandanero, second by Mr. Acosta. Any discussion? And again, I am not taking the hard work away from Ms. Smith and the Office of Economic Development in the city. There is so much that has been done already. This is just in support of that work and trying to let our state know that rural communities have been suffering for far too long, and we all have these challenges. Our staff is limited in resources and time, and they do amazing work all across the board. And so it's time to try to advocate for ourselves and get others on board that have these same challenges to try to get more help for our rural community. Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 10E, second reading of ordinance number 25-1208, an ordinance of mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning a 0.17 acre parcel of land by North Cochise Avenue and 8th Street from general commercial to multifamily residential and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Ms. Gons.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So yes, this is the second reading of the ordinance. Initially, Planning and Zoning met on March 27th with the first reading of Mayor and Council being April 9th. And this is a resolution to amend the zoning district map from general commercial to multifamily. The parcel is situated near North Cochise Ave and 8th Street. It is approximately 0.17 acres. The zoning and the general plan aligns with the trend to convert the zoning. The proposed change was done by an applicant who wishes to use the existing property as for residential occupancy. It's an existing structure.
May I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-1208?
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, I move that the mayor and council approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-1208 by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Acosta. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Montaño.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 10F, second reading of ordinance number 25-1209, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning a 1.25 acre parcel of land north of Highway 80 adjacent to the La Perilla Estates from single-family residential 8,000 SFR 8 to general commercial GC and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Ms. Gomez.
Thank you. So this is also something that was brought up to planning and zoning on the same date, and mayor and council the same, first reading the same date as well, of April 9th. This is a parcel located near the golf course and La Perilla Estate. Currently, it's vacant land. There's nothing situated on there. The parcel is 1.25 acres, and the proposed rezoning would be for an increase to convert to commercial, but to also increase the development in the area and the usage. The change will enable the applicant to develop storage to place not only service those in the RV park, but also other citizens of Douglas.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-1209? Mr. Valdenegro.
Move that the mayor and council approve the second reading of 25-1209.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valdenegro, second by Mr. Montaño. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes, motion passes. Item number 10G, second reading of ordinance number 25-1210, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning a 1.44 acre parcel of land within Geronimo Trail Estates by Hohoken Drive from single-family residential 12,000 SFR 12 to multifamily residential MFR, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Ms. Gomes.
Thank you. So this ordinance was also passed planning and zoning March 27th and the first reading of mayor and council April 9th. The proposed zoning is for a vacant parcel, 1.44 acres. The proposed amendment does align with policies reflecting increase in residential land use development. The rezoning also reflects the evolving patterns of growth we've been seeing in Douglas. The applicant would like for the development to be for single-family homes, which apply for the multifamily residential standards in the area. They did have a proposal, I know it was one of the previous questions in the first reading, to do 10 single-family homes. And to clarify, in the last meeting, I said we don't allow for splitting more than 3 parcels at once. I had incorrect information. They would be allowed to do the splits for 10 homes there.
May I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-1210?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Shelton,
I move the mayor and council approve the second reading of ordinance number 25-1210 by number and title only.
is there a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Valdenegro. Any discussion? I do have a question on any of these, well, I guess on this, multifamily residential. Is there a timeline or timeframe that that they're looking at?
So we have worked with this developer before. They have done a split very close to that area as well. It was a larger parcel. They did the same thing. They sold the 2 parcels. They did it around a year for 2 homes. And we believe that they're trying to do the same timeline. They're increasing their workforce as well.
Any other discussion? Roll.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion passes. Item 10H, first reading of ordinance number 25-1211, an ordinance of mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget, and providing funds for general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2026, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Martinez?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Temp, members of the council. Every fiscal year, the city of Douglas is required to adopt its annual property tax levy and submit certification of the levy to the Cochise County Board of Supervisors no later than the 3rd Monday in August. This year, the certification must be submitted on or before August 18th, 2025. On February 10th, 2025, the city received the 2025 net assessed primary valuation. In line with the previous year, staff presents this first reading, which aligns with our 2026 budget process. Some of the key details of the 2025 tax levy include the city's primary assessed value is $67,229,957. New construction added 1.9 million to the tax roll. The proposed tax rate decreases from 1.1138 to 1.0783, yielding a total tax levy of $724,941. This reduces the tax rate by $3.55 per every $100,000 of property value. The total levy rises from 703,542 last fiscal year to 724,941. That is a $21,399 increase due primarily to new construction and higher assessed values. Staff recommends approval of the first reading of the property tax levy as presented.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1211?
Mayor,
Mr. Eccles?
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1211. Its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Acosta and second by Mr. Shelton. Any discussion?
I'm just glad to see it go down. A little. One of the only things I think out there in the country or whatever, at least we got a little reduction in taxes.
Probably in the world.
Right, yeah. Go to McDonald's and maybe have a hamburger and fries. Maybe.
Agreed. Glad to see this go down and see that there's quite a bit of new construction also on there, so that it's all
Exactly.
great.
A lot more coming.
It's all great news, great signs. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget and providing funds for the general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2026, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 25-1211?
Mayor Pro Tempore.
Mr. Acosta?
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 25-1211.
Is there a sorry,
And to place it in its second reading by number and title only.
is there a second? Motion by Mr. Acosta, second by Mr. Valdenegro. Any discussion? Roll. call.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion passes.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget and providing funds for the general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2026, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item 10I, First reading of ordinance number 25-1212, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Hensel Phelps Construction Company for 21,500 square feet of vacant land at city-owned parcel 408-34-008B for purposes of conducting construction contractor operations for the construction of the new Douglas Commercial Port of Entry, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Pedro Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, thank you, Mrs. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. I apologize. Hensel Phelps Construction Contractor is scheduled to break ground at the 80-acre parcel for the construction of the new commercial port of entry, which is scheduled for August of 2025 for groundbreaking. Hensel Phelps is seeking a lease with the city-owned parcel that is 5 acres and located adjacent to the 80-acre parcel for their job staging area, yard, general construction operations, and general office purposes. The city built a temporary well on this 5-acre parcel for exactly for the construction that will be for the new commercial port of entry. Hensel Phelps is seeking the vacant land for their yard around the fenced well site. Those of you who have seen it, it's currently fenced there. Hensel Phelps will be responsible for all improvements and cleaning the premises during and after when they leave. We expect Hensel Phelps to be at the site for about 42 months. The rent negotiated was at $650 per month based on the same rental rate the city provided to the border wall contractors stationed at the vacant land at the airport in 2024. Lease is presented as an ordinance due to the period being longer than 12 months. And the terms of the lease are listed in the attached lease agreement, and we recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Pedrosa. May I have a motion to approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1212? Mr. Badanero.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1212 on its first reading by Congress title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Badanero, second by Mr. Acosta. Any discussion?
No, I wrote some stuff down for the answer that, make sure that there was gonna be cleanup and then basically the biggest.
Yes.
Mr. Pedrosa, is the contractor gonna have the security there for their equipment? Because I noticed in the past, when we had the contractors out here building the wall, there was a lot of equipment that was taken into the top of the border. I'm just curious if they're gonna have their own security.
Mayor Pro Temp, Councilmember Baldenegro, it's my understanding that yes, they'll have secured premises there. And they will have trailers as well. But my understanding is that they will secure their equipment.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Hensel Phelps Construction Company for 21,500 square feet of vacant land at city-owned parcel number 408-34-008B for purposes of conducting construction contractor operations for the construction of the new Douglas Commercial Port of Entry, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 25-1212? Mr. Boavenegro.
I'm moving that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 2/112 and place it on the second reading by number of title.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boavenegro, second by Mr. Montaño. Any discussion? Not roll call, please.
Councilmember Montaño,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta.
Yes. Motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Hensel Phelps Construction Company for 21,500 square feet of vacant land at city-owned parcel number 408-34-008B for purposes of conducting construction contractor operations for the construction of the new Douglas Commercial Port of Entry, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10J. First reading of ordinance number 25-1213, an ordinance of mayor and council of city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending chapter 2.02 of the Douglas Municipal Code, specifically as to section 2.02.020, rules of conduct for council meetings, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Ms. Andrade?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tempore, members of the council. Very minor changes to title 2.02020, rules of conduct for council meetings. As you all know, when Mayor Grijalva took office, he observed that most meetings are obviously well attended during the first hour of the meetings. Therefore, he suggested to have an order change of the agenda. And as you have noticed, we have events and then mayor and council member reports at the top of the agenda. Initially, this was the mayor's suggestion in order to have more productive meetings and be able to share the information with our citizens in the community. The rules of council meetings was last updated in 2012. Accordingly, the changes reflect the city's commitment on maintaining an orderly, transparent, and current meeting format, with staff ensuring that the updates align with appropriate public meeting protocols. Those are the only changes, and I know that legal will be working also on other minor amendments for future ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. May I have a motion to approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1213? Mr. Boavenegro, we're almost done.
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 25-1213 and the first reading by number of title.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boavenegro, second by Mr. Montaño. Any discussions?
Mayor, Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem. Quick question, Ms. Andrade, you
Yes.
said that legal was gonna be looking into other areas to change that. Why wasn't that? I'm just curious, why wasn't that done before it came for the read?
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
And other amendments to the municipal code?
Or, I thought you meant the specific thing.
We do have one section that it was an oversight of not including it on this specific ordinance for this reading that could be included in the second reading, and that was item J, if I am not mistaken, Dennis? And it's
Yeah, it's under the voting section that's getting amended with regards to members appearing electronically. There was we're allowing more than one member to appear through Teams or Zoom. The last part of it says electronic attendance shall not be permitted if the member's attendance is required to constitute a quorum. In looking at that today, I was thinking that it might be good to delete that one also, just because there could be a time when council might have an emergency meeting where we could have, only 3 here and, 4 coming in electronically. So as long as they have access to everything, we didn't want to limit it. So we could add that portion to get deleted at the second reading.
I have another question. On the documentation that was provided, before, prior to the meeting, I was going over it. And I know that the item 12 was added to that, or is that correct? Or am I, where it says that future agenda item request from mayor and council, which is added to the agenda? Was that correct?
Well, that's Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Montano. Yes, you're exactly right. That's being added, but it doesn't modify the other part of the code. For an item to get on the agenda, obviously the city manager puts it on, or the mayor can put it on, or 3 council members. So I think what we're trying to do there is, if somebody wants to have something added at the next meeting, we'd still have to make sure that the other parts of our code are complied with.
Okay, that was my question, because I wrote down the charter already has a process for doing that. So why are we doing it here? That was my only concern.
I think like you saw tonight, I mean, I think there's been, at the end of meetings, people have asked for updates on certain things. And so it gives staff an opportunity to come forward with those items if they're ready to go, and either the mayor or the city manager wants to place them on the agenda, or 3 council members want to place it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Shelton?
Define electronically.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Okay, that would be fine. I thought maybe you would have to be somewhere else and vote. We could do it, we call in on the phone. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes, no, it's Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Shelton. Electronic could be like I'm doing right now over Zoom, but it also could be via the phone. We just have to make sure that anyone who's appearing that way has access to all the information that's being presented during the council meeting.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Montaño?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro?
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta?
Yes. Motion passes.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending chapter 2.02 of the Douglas Municipal Code, specifically as to section 2.02.020, rules of conduct for council meetings, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
May I have a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 25-1213?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Montaño.
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 25-1213 and place it on the second reading by number and title.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Montaño, second by Mr. Shelton. Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Montaño?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro?
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Acosta?
Yes. Motion passes.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending chapter 2.02 of the Douglas Municipal Code, specifically as to section 2.02.020, rules of conduct for council meetings, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Item 11, city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I have a couple more announcements that we also left out on the event updates. Douglas Days, again, I want to briefly go over the event schedule, or quickly, not briefly, but this Thursday, we have, as Mayor Pro Tem already announced, the pre-energized Douglas. Actually, this is a different one. It's the pre-energized Douglas on the 15th, 6 to 9 downtown G. But then on Friday, which kicks off officially with opening ceremonies, it's 6 p.m. at Castro Park. We have band performances, high school tap performances, and lots of entertainment. We have band from 8 to 11 that night, and then lots of off-site location open through the weekend. Saturday, we start off with our parade kickoff at 10 a.m. And for the parade, I want to make sure that we do a shout out and then a call to all seniors for a senior walk in the parade. They will be meeting at Cilantros on Saturday morning beginning at 9:30 to line up and walk together in honor of their big graduation achievement. The welcoming ceremony will kick off at Castro Park at 11. We have bed races following. We have open mic and DJ, La Brasa Norteño, Emoción, and Boogie Nights is the rest of the entertainment from noon all the way through midnight. Lots of vendors, a beer garden, jumping castle, and lots of activities. All of our off-site locations include the Douglas Williams House Museum, Last Supper Museum, Slaughter Ranch Museum, and Art Car World. So join us for all these festivities in celebration of our very own Founders Day, known as Douglas Days. And this is our 10th anniversary, so big celebration. As far as my updates, our downtown streetscape is moving along. We just had our environmental review complete last week. So that has been submitted to our granting agency, HUD. And we anticipate the authority to release funds in June and being able to move forward with bids for contractors soon as well. We have grants moving along for our airport hangar, our historical hangar. We're working on easement edits with SHPO since it is through Save America's Treasures historical grant. We have architects ready to start those assessments. We have a WIFA recent award for conservation grant for Geronimo Trail transmission line and reservoir planning and design east of town. Also very excited for more development in another area of town, not only west, but the start of some east development as well. Lots of other grants underway that we're working through, but primarily those are the ones I'd like to focus in right now. Also, May 19th through May 23rd is National Public Works Week. Public Works is developing their own Facebook page to provide ongoing information to the community on the work that they do through their Public Works divisions. Also, our asphalt plant was ordered in March. We have an expected delivery date of late August. We've also purchased a new asphalt zipper for road preparation, loader, new roller, and a striping machine. We're currently awaiting a new dump truck or a dump bed, a fogger, and a portable electronic traffic sign. So exciting times in that realm as well. In collaboration also recently with Cochise College and in alignment with the mayor and council's policy priority of economy, jobs, and amenities, the city of Douglas sponsored the very first OSHA 10 class for community members seeking to better prepare for upcoming construction jobs with a new commercial port of entry project. The slots filled up quickly, 30 participants, due to the tuition waiver offered through the sponsorship. A second class will be offered at the end of June, also at a $50 tuition fee, and we are currently seeking additional sponsorships to assist those participants as well. After June, those rates will go up. So help get the word out on those lower costs during the month of May and June. We recently had a great trip to Washington, Mayor Grijalva, accompanied by council members Rodriguez and Acosta and myself. We were in attendance with various federal agencies and our congressional representatives, telling our story and promoting our community, as well as defining our continued needs through many of our congressional spending requests. So certainly showcasing Douglas and making ourselves known, and it was a very successful trip. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKee. Item number 12, future agenda item request from mayor and council. And Mr. Shelton's favorite, item number 13, adjournment.
I make a motion with,
We have a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Valdenegro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This, meeting adjourned at 7:45.
Have a good evening, Dennis. Thank
Have a
you.
nice evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.